Greetings.
Hello.
We're
Greetings.
back,
Hello.
Hello.
and you might have heard a weird noise from our side, which is our dear friend André, the giant.
I'm a giant. I see.
I see, says the blind man to his deaf daughter. Um, but we today have a special guest, as I just said, our friend André the giant. And we're not going to talk about Star Wars. My dear friend Jay, what are we going to talk about?
Today, it's something that I am personally not a big fan of.
Fantastic. Which is?
Star Trek.
But I am a big fan of Star Trek, of course. And with my dear friend John Pedro, we have a big discussion about it. Sometimes we fight about it because I say Star Trek is amazing, much better, and Star Wars sometimes it seems like a high fantasy novel with many twisting and some kind of attempt at the incest love making. I don't know. You can, you know.
That's a big stretch saying that there's incest and lovemaking.
For example, it's the thing that sold basically Game of Thrones. So I don't understand your issue with incest.
I'm not saying there's an issue here. Don't
No, no,
don't get me
I'm saying
wrong.
to our dear friend Andre, what's the
Ah,
issue with incest?
No, you remember, right? Leia and his brother kissed each other. And something is like, I don't know, almost a real ancestral relationship about it. But yeah, I know Star Wars have other things that are amazing, of course. And sometimes I think it's better than Star Trek. I can admit that with certainly. But sometimes Star Wars to me it seems like I don't know to do the same plot all around the same storyline, the same dichotomy between good and evil. There is no gray in between. That is my honest opinion. So that's that's that is about.
Well, first of all, just to keep it short, um, you just said Star Wars is better in some things, so I think we can end the episode here.
We can,
No, I'm
we
kidding.
can.
Um,
Yes.
I'm kidding. The part of the repeating itself.
I can agree on some extent. I mean, that's an issue. That's maybe an issue with the main movie saga. It's all. I mean, it's the same. It's the same storyline.
Story
You know, it's
repeated
always it's
three
always
times.
the Skywalkers and the Jedi and the Sith. I understand some of those I don't want to say criticisms, but well,
It's criticism.
yeah, you can understand what I'm trying to say. But lately we've been having so much different content that I don't think that it's an issue anymore, you know. But yeah, for some casual fan, I understand that it may be some kind of a criticism, but I mean, it depends on the level with which you follow Star Wars, I guess.
Yeah, basically. Um, that was actually what I was also going to say. So I think we can move on to space and see the stars and the planets and new species and new civilizations. To both we go when where this podcast never went.
Yes, it's the crossover nobody expected.
It's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Batman.
Yeah, move over, Avengers: Infinity War. This is the crossover we need.
The That will be great, but I think it's impossible, right? Because of confusing movie and TV shows, rights and so on. I think it's a little bit impossible, right?
I mean, on for someone from the outside, both Star Wars and Star Trek may seem like they're basically the same thing, but from someone like on the inside and someone who's a fan, like all all us three are, they're basically completely different from. I mean, not completely, but they're very different from each other, and that's also some of the thought that's behind this interview, because we've always had those discussions, sometimes heated discussions about Star Trek and Star Wars and the philosophies of each other, and how Star Wars embodies a mix between space operas and sci-fi, and how Star Trek may sometimes path the way to technological innovation in the real world, you know. So I think that it's a great opportunity for us to actually discuss this on an episode, and I actually think that it's even better if we can do this in two different parts, you know, like a small light introduction today, you know, like a very introductory session about how
Funny
you.
curiosities and all that.
Yeah, yeah, and how Andre actually relates to Star Trek or not. And in a second part, in another interview, and like a second part, we can dive a little deeper into the philosophies and what actually drives the Star Trek plot lines forward. You know, that's basically my idea.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's do it. So I will begin. My first contact with Star Trek was in 1999, 1998. Sorry, I was at the Maya, is a city close to Lisbon, and I was watching the TV on Channel 2 because that channel was airing Star Trek Voyager after 9:30 p.m. I believe, and I began to watch because I never watched it before, and I was hooked with the show. It was amazing because, in some sense, during that my pre-teens, I look at the stars and I wonder about the other celestials bodies in the sky. What's the mean the constellation of the stars and something that hit me very hard because a crew going. Trying to get home because some alien entity push another way to another point of the galaxy with 17,000 light years. And this was an amazing show, and I was hooked, and I was almost religiously, and that is my first contact.
So
Um,
so
yes,
basically, we found both Star Trek and Star Wars basically
uh,
by the very same reason, you know, by
yeah.
looking at the sky at night and wondering what exactly is out there, and how exactly that works, and whoever it may be, like listening and maybe watching us, you know, because well, we have like 4 years of difference between us, but I
Yeah,
mean, it's still the same. It's
at the
same.
same generation, all right, to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's the same feeling, you know. It's the same
yeah, yes,
questions and the same curiosity. And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that it's a
I,
very curious fact.
I agree completely. I think many of us of our generation, I think it's because the world is a different place, and we see that shuttle ship, no shuttle, yeah, the shuttle going to the space and building the next international space station and so on. So many space events happening in the real world, and some TV shows make us kids at that time wondering was to I was like to go to space in a far place or in the last frontier of humankind. That's how I contact. After that year, particular year, 1998 to 2000s, I interrupted my view of Star Trek. I don't know why. I think it's because of the TV, the public TV, right? Because I not have cable at that time, was not airing the episode of Star Trek. And movie fast forward, I was at high school, 10th grade, I believe, and again, I was watching another movie completely unrelated to the Star Wars and Star Trek universe, was The Dune. So The Dune was the major hit for me as well. I think is right now on HBO, some cinemas, I believe. But the movie sparked again the passion for sci-fi. So I began to look to internet, to other places, at libraries, and the school about the Star Trek shows, and I began to watch all the Star Trek shows, and that's what was my second moment of contact with the Star Trek. On the Star Wars, curiously, was in printings as well. I think it was the first movie of Star Wars I watched was the first movie of Star Wars in 19th. It's like the Phantom of Menace, I believe it's the name. Right?
The
Yeah,
Phantom Menace, the one
yeah.
with a young Obi-Wan Kenobi, isn't it?
Exactly. That it was the
Yeah.
the main, the first major introduction to the Star Wars, and I like it immediately, of course. But at that time, I was very naive, and I thought it was the storyline. So it began with the first one. It was I thought it was the first movie of the saga, right? So when I discovery and I found out that it was right the fourth film, but is a prequel of the main trilogy, and I say, oh really? That's it? Okay. I was a bit disappointed, so I stick with the Star Trek and but I watch Star Wars movies, but not often, and the Star Trek shows or Star Trek movies. That's the main. So that's the main contrast with Star Trek universe and Star Wars universe. I think I made myself clear. I don't know.
Yeah, perfectly. Yeah, perfectly. I at least on my part, I understood what you've meant. I don't know if you want to add anything, Bruno.
No,
Maybe.
I was gonna tell my first contact with Star Wars. Star Wars, no,
Yeah,
sorry, Star Trek.
that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
I don't know which date or star date, as they say on the show, but I remember I was young, and there were those channels on the Portuguese television which no longer exist, like Sick Gold and such, which were the previous channels that we had for the old programs. And my father, which watched everything of the original and the next generation, as like this recurring situation of, I already watched this show, but I'm going to record the goddamn show and rewatch it again. So yeah, it was like that. My first approach to Star Trek was with my father when I was young, and I don't think the first one that I saw was the original show. Was in fact the Next Generation show, which for me is kind of one of the greatest. Um, but I basically watched it practically all. But I didn't have the memory of everything in the entire show. Only recently I watched it from beginning to end, analyzing the progress of the crew, the evolution of the crew, and new enemies, new civilizations, new confrontations, and such. I also remember watching afterwards the first show, the original, and I also remember watching, concerning about space, that show called Space 1999, which to me was also a very funny interpretation of galactic traveling. I don't know if you two know about that show,
Which one?
Space 1999.
Yes,
I've
I
heard.
saw that. I saw that show, TV series, and I thought it's very, very archaic for
I
me.
think
Yeah,
I've seen like a couple of episodes. I think.
No,
yeah,
it is archaic, but it's also funny to see how we
yeah. But
used
the idea,
to.
that the moon itself swing up to in direction to another location at the space, and I think what happened to the Earth. I never understood what really happened to the
No,
Earth, right? So
in the first episode they have the new moon facilities, which was just to explore um, that zone of space had a core malfunction in the reactor. The reactor exploded. The force of the explosion was enough
to
to
the pull out, yes,
send the moon out of the gravity well.
swing
Sorry,
back to the trajectory of the Earth of the
exactly.
yeah.
And the crew is just trying to survive, and basically the moon itself is the big ass spaceship.
Okay. I don't
It
recall
was
many.
archaic as hell, but I thought
Yeah,
the idea to the time it
I
was
don't
fun.
recall many details because I
Mhm.
was very young too when I saw that, and I watched like a few episodes and that's it. But
Yeah.
after that, I watched the 2001 Odyssey of Space. I think is the right name. And I like that movie, but it was so slow moving, so slow. It's like going and going and going.
Yeah,
Okay, it
but
was a little bit boring at the time, but yeah. But 1919 Space TV series, I don't think is. I think it's groundbreaking for the TV the TV industry, right? Because it
mhm.
was groundbreaking because the special effects and so on, and the plot lines as well. But it's the show that not is not calling my attention like Star Trek. I don't know why
No,
specifically it
I'm not
doesn't
saying
happen.
I'm not saying that it's a show that everybody needs to see. I just like to, in my experience, I watched some types of space traveling shows, including Stargate, Doctor Who. I think
Oh,
I saw some part of Babylon 5. I still need to
oh,
watch
Babylon
that.
5. Oh,
I still
Babylon.
need to watch that show
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
beginning to the
yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
my friend recommended to me the show Red Dwarf, which is like a space comedy.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
and
uh, yeah, Stargate somehow is, but not Stargate. For example, Atlantis is everything less comedy. Babylon
No,
5 is
I'm
for...
talking that Red 5, sorry,
Ah,
Red
okay.
Dwarf. Red Dwarf was a comedy show.
Okay.
Stargate grabbed some funny remarks of the most serious actor that they had, which was the guy with the white hair. And in his quirky way of always looking like a serious bitch, he made some funny remarks during the show. That's what gave the little bit of fun in Stargate. But just to continue my first contact with Star Wars, if I believe was also with the Phantom Menace, because I have this very vivid memory of going to the shopping mall near here, the oldest one, the one in Cascais, and seeing someone dressed as Darth Vader and two guys there's dressed as stormtroopers from the original show. And I think they did that because, oh, look, new Star Wars movie. But that Star Wars movie had nothing to do with Darth Vader per se. But that's my most vivid idea of when I was introduced to Star Wars and how I was introduced to Star Trek. I think you're missing, Jake. Your turn, buddy.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I think I've already said this. Didn't I don't know, I didn't.
The first
I didn't.
contact.
Yeah, my first contact. That's a nice pun.
Yeah, the first contact is the nicest
a-
pun that we're going to
it's-
say in this episode.
It's a very nice pun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my first contact with Star Wars was around, I don't know, maybe 1998 or 97, something like that, because I have a cousin who's really into like Star Wars and Star Trek and superheroes, all that kind of geeky culture. And he always tried to introduce me to these kinds of things. I started to read some comics when I was a kid because of him. I actually watched the old Star Wars movies because of him. And by the time that I saw the Phantom Menace in 19 no well not in 1999, because I didn't watch it in the
theater.
movies, yeah, but I don't know, maybe around 2002, 2003, maybe. I had already seen the original trilogy, and for some reason, I ended up, after watching the three prequels, I ended up like being mad at Star Wars. I don't know. I can't precisely pinpoint why. But I actually got mad at Star Wars. I spent some years without even talking about it. For some reason, I was actually pissed. I was one of those people that actually got pissed about the prequels. But now looking back, I actually
Blasphemy.
yeah. But looking back now, I actually can see the magic and how special they ended up becoming, especially after watching the Clone Wars TV show. About Star Trek was around the same time, maybe 1999, 2000, maybe.
Yes, it
But
was.
but for some reason, Star Trek never clicked with me. I like, and both of you know me. I'm actually very interested in those kinds of themes, But for some reason, Star Trek never clicked with me. I can't say why, but if I'm like at someone's home, imagine we are hanging out in one of our homes,
Mm-hmm.
and if there's a Star Trek movie like on TV, or one of you suggests to watch a Star Trek movie or a Star Trek show, I'm like, yeah, sure, let's watch it. But so I can't say I hate it, that's it's not something that I can't watch, but it doesn't click with me. I can't, like I already said 2 or 3 times, I can't pinpoint why. But it's something that, yeah, sure, I can watch it, but it's not my favorite thing in the world. I'd
Yep.
rather watch a star like a superhero flick or something.
I see.
Um, Talking about the different views of the different shows, I'll ask this to Andre first.
Yeah.
Of the several versions of Star Trek that exist, meaning the original, the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Discovery, Voyager, etc., 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 which one would you name as your favorite?
Okay. I think it's a bit hard to pinpoint the favorite one, uh, because for me I have at least two favorites of the shows. I think they represent very well the original premise
Version. Yep.
Of Star Trek, the creation of Gene, right? So for me, it's Star Trek Voyager, the first show that hit me. So it was the first show I saw in the Star Trek universe. So the Star Trek Voyager was the first one, and the second one is a very close one. Uh, is a very close one, a tie between Deep Space Nine. But I want to exclude because I like very much of Star Trek Picard, because the Star Trek Picard, the last installment, is very close to home. Very many of subjects that encompass that newest TV show is the speak about the realities, the sociological ramification of what is today's society. That's I don't know if you understand me, because Star Trek Picard sometimes not all the utopias is like what to be seen, right? It's like not everything is shining because it's some darkness that inside the universe. So Deep Space Nine was the first show of Star Trek universe that began to with more dark undertones, right? Because Star Trek: The Next Generation almost don't have a war, a major war, right? Deep Space Nine. You recall that? I don't recall a major war in Star Trek: The Next Generation, apart from the war with the Borg, right?
Yeah.
In that special case, we have major wars in Deep Space Nine. That's when the Star Trek universe began to look more darker, and we arrived to the latest TV show like Star Trek Picard, and began with that other tones. So right now, my favorite TV show, of course, without doubt, is Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek Picard.
Let me just say something that you're talking about Star Trek Picard. It's that show. I think it's a show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
it's a
show.
TV
It's
show.
the new show with
that
the Sir Patrick Stewart.
Stewart. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the first time that Star Trek has something that I'm very, very keen
Yeah.
to see. Not only because of Sir Patrick Stewart, obviously. I really enjoy his
He's a
work
great
as an
actor.
actor.
He's a great actor.
He's
Yeah.
great, both in live action appearances, and both on live action appearances and on animated shows. I think he does a great job on American Dad for example. But I think it's the first time that Star Trek actually has something that I'm very interested to see.
I would recommend very well to see Star Trek Picard, despite you don't like very much the Star Trek universe, because I think the person who made Star Trek Picard is the Picard itself is the actor Patrick Stewart. Right?
Yeah.
This is an amazing actor. He have ethical career from the theater, and he knows how to express his anguish, his views about the moral dilemmas, about the philosophical implication, about what society it is. Remember, Picard at that time, right, in the TV show, was retired at the winery in France, right? And
the families.
He's a winery production in South France, right? And he's retired. He's a captain who retires. Better science. I don't want to make spoiler, but he's retired nevertheless. And I don't know. Is the micro expression when the camera look at him with some subject look? I think he's the best actor possible to express the intensity of human emotion. If you understand what I meant.
I understand. I didn't see the entire first season, not because I didn't want to. It just it became at one point impossible for me. I still need to watch it again, and I want to watch it again. But what I saw with the actor that Sir Patrick Stewart is, it just gave a lot of people well, not a lot of people, because there were still people that were not pleased with the show. I don't know why, but fuck it. But what I saw, even if the story would not be compelling to some fans and some purists of Star Trek.
I understand your point of view.
But the show is great for the actor itself.
I understand, because the issues began with the Star Trek Discovery, right? Star Trek Discovery was a show that is almost the same time as the timeline of Spock, right? So it's the same timeline. What happened is, because the Star Trek Discovery began with somehow break entire canon of the Star Trek universe. But in fact, what Star Trek Discovery is a total break between the timeline of Spock and the next timeline that is going to happen on third season, if you watch the entire Star Trek Discovery.
So it's connected.
Yes. But it was necessary to have like that. It was very necessary, because you see the progression of the seasons and you understand very well why is that. Why at the time the United Federation of Planets was more darker and more warmonger than, for example, in a universe of Star Trek Voyager, right? So that's the main issues. And when the Star Trek Picard arrived, it's not like the purist, because Picard don't have a crew from the Federation itself, right? That's the main thing, because what is Star Trek is a crew and a spaceship exploring something, right? So encounter new civilization, encounter new races, make first contact. That's the goal of Star Trek universe, right? So,
Of the Federation, yeah.
yes, but people forget that breakout between the Star Trek universe standalone episodes of the crew exploring the space began with the Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is the space station itself,
Yeah.
close to wormhole and so on, right? That's why the Star Trek Picard have a debate between purists and they want a crew from the Federation and the other people or the kind of audience that need to connect with the Star Trek universe. You understand? It's like imagine now Star Trek Picard like a little bit of cowboy stories, right? Is a rogue crew try to save someone? You know, understand me? Is the feeling? That's the main.
No, I understand, because what you're talking about basically is what we've been talking about Star Wars movies and the Star Wars shows, because you have the Skywalker saga. We're going to compare Skywalker saga as to the original Star Trek and the Star Trek of Next Generation. Then you have all the other stories, which are also in the universe, but are not usually considered. The first example, as you said, we had was Deep Space Nine, which was on a fucking station, on a space station. It was basically a giant mall on space, and people were like, "What's the appealing of this?" And then they see, then you have more dedication in that show concerning religious debate versus exploration of science. You have some cases of politics that we witness on the original shows. It's more intensified on Deep Space Nine, and so on. So basically, Deep Space Nine for me would be like the Clone Wars show, because you have more politics and connection to the actual species that also appear in the Senate. Then we have the batshit crazy, which was this Voyager, because Voyager, as you said, it's again exploration, but in a fun way. It's like exploration in the reversed way of the other show that I mentioned, Space 1999. They're trying to survive. They're going back home. What do we do? Do we actually compromise to our Federation standards and do this for the salvation? And there's a lot of debate in the beginning of the show, like, was following the Federation code of law the right thing to do or not? And they still debate that for like 3 or 4 seasons in the show. Just the type of survival of the last chance they're going to have, and what's doing right or what's doing wrong. So in that case, would be like Rebels in a way, and
I think Star Trek Voyager, like you said, is more like a crew that some crew on a boat navigated
lost in space, trying.
It's exactly the same as the plot line. But the question, the most interesting plot line in Eden, right, is about the choices that the crew need to make. Is a battle between preserve the ideals of the Federation and gain the necessary technology to get home more faster, right?
Yeah, it's the battle of the self. It's my moral compass versus my need for survive.
Yeah, it's like a battle inside of us, right? If you think about that, every time we are battling something, battle with some negative talks, for example, battle with some kind of imposter syndrome, for example, right, and so on. I think Star Trek Voyage is like more about the psychology of human mind, right? The psychos of a crew, how the crew deal with the oh no. That is the appeal of Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're throwing to the cauldron all the spices that could be in the soup called Star Trek. For example, have you seen, or I was going to say any of you, but I think Jay never did. Have you seen the show called Enterprise?
Yes, I saw Star Trek
That's
Enterprise.
like that's the prequels, you know. That's the first contact.
It's at the beginning of everything. So
and there's a different type of struggles right at the beginning, like, oh, we're new, we're great, we're gonna do it. Nope. It's like the entire show of Enterprise is just like, I'm here, I fought for this, I deserve a place, you're still too young, shut up.
It's the first three, the first two episodes of Star Trek Enterprise. You saw the struggle between a child and a father, right? You can imagine the father as a Vulcan. You can imagine the humankind as a child, because accordingly with universe at that time, the Earth was at war and have many social issues, environmental issues, etc. And when the first contact made with the Vulcans, everything changed. But the Vulcans, like with their logic, with their range of emotion, saw the humans like the ghost of itself, right? Because they control the Vulcan controls their emotions, right, so strongly, because they are afraid that if you get the emotion out, you're going to destroy the Vulcan civilization. That's the main story of that one, the main plot line of Star Trek Enterprise. But also, when you think that the Shines want to explore, right? No, it's not by chance that we, at certain age, as human species, we go to get a house for ourselves, going to live with the house parents, right? So this make completely sense to me as a Star Trek show Enterprise. It's like Earth beginning to explore space, but the main struggle is like you're going to explore other planets, encounter other races, but we're going to impose the Earth ideals, or going to understand the other races.
Remember, it's the beginning of the first contact.
Exactly. It's the beginning of the first first contact policy making progress or something like that. So, yes.
In many cases, they were writing the goddamn rules.
Exactly. The prime directive, right?
Yeah. But the different shows that have been appearing, not every show is for every fan of Star Trek. It's the same stuff for the Star Wars. Not every Star Wars show is for every fan. For example, just to side plot a little bit, recently, Lucasfilms and Disney did a project with several Japanese studios, and they created Star Wars Visions, 9 mini stories of Star Wars inspiration. Sorry, Star Wars inspiration, um, which don't have to follow the main canon on like the actual entire laws of the Star Wars universe. They just grab the following: you have the bad guys, you have the good guys, you have lightsabers, you have the Force, you have the Sith, you have the Jedi. Go nuts. That's basically the rules that they had for those mini shows, and some people loved it, some people hated it. um, some people disagree what's the best episode created on those 9 episodes from different studios. um, but transmits to the fact that not every there's a lot of space for creation, especially when me and Jay already talked about the possibilities to create something in role-playing games and such, or just write your fanfics, and the actual service of, does this please the average Star Wars fan? Yes, no, maybe. Does this please the most arguing fan of Star Wars? Probably not. Do we give a shit? No.
I think it's important to actually test the elasticity of Star Wars lore. You know,
Yeah.
it's very, I think it's important for different types of storytelling, and to achieve and reach sometimes fans that were disappointed, and maybe get them back, or actually get new fans that maybe couldn't get into Star Wars until now. And if you actually test this elasticity and discover some new ways of telling a story, and explore new points of the galaxy, and go deep into other types of subject matter, other than the Jedi and the Sith and the
Sith.
Force, you know, I think it's a great way to actually bring back older fans, and maybe actually get some new ones, because
Yeah.
Star Wars as an entity, and as a universe of itself, is very elastic, and you can do all kinds of crazy shit with it. And if you and I think it was last year or something, we actually discussed on an episode, if Lucasfilms decided to give um, a Star Wars movie to a guy like Tarantino, for example. And what did we see on the Mandalorian? We got episodes with Robert Rodriguez. We have Robert Rodriguez participating in the Book of Boba Fett, and I think this is very interesting to see how new stories are created with different parts of the galaxy that as of yet have remained unexplored. And my guess is, from given what I know, and from what you have been discussing amongst each other, and by the way, it's been a great time hearing you you both discussing Star Trek.
Thank you.
um as I've understood, it's basically the same with Star Trek. It's very it's also very elastic, and there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been maybe properly explored. And on my part, and on my opinion, it's always good to try and be original and fail than just playing it safe and giving something that it's substandard, you know. And by this, I'm talking about, for example, the difference between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson wanted to do something original. Some people will say he failed, but at least he tried. If you look
Yeah.
at the Rise of Skywalker, J.J. Abrams played it so cool and so safe that the movie actually came a little bit underwhelming, and I don't think that it's the conclusion that the main saga actually deserved, but it's an opinion,
Yeah.
some people may agree, some people may disagree with me. It's how the world it's how the world works, I guess.
No, it's basically the Star Trek is trying. It's trying with uh, currently, in my opinion, is trying with three different shows. It's trying with still with Discovery. Some people are complaining it, some people are liking it, and the new ways of travel and where it's settled and Doctor Who shenanigans and such. Then you have Picard, which is a show for those who watched the original shit, but aged like a good wine, like Sir Picard, Sir Patrick. I was going to call him Sir Picard. um, and then you have the comedy side. Currently, I don't know if you or Andre know this, but there's a cartoon show currently of Star Trek, which basically goes around newbies on a spaceship and like their shenanigans, their adventures, their quirks, their um, attitudes. Like one is super cocky, the other is super nervous, the other is like real smart snob from a rich family, and so on. And then you have the collaboration of this trying to evolve in a funny way. Um, but in Star Trek universe, I think that show, I don't know the name of the show, which is kind of stupid, but I think it was adaptation from the success that Final Space was um, to the Star Trek universe. I don't know if any of you have seen Final Space.
So the question is trying to paint Star Trek like the final space. What the final?
No, no,
The
no. I was saying that currently you have three. I was stating that currently you have three shows that are testing the current fan base of Star Trek in three different ways, which is the Discovery show, the Picard show, and the comic cartoon show about the newbies on
the lower decks.
The Lower Decks. That's the name. Then I was saying that the Lower Decks for me resembles in some way, not
South
completely,
Park or Family Guy sometimes.
more the show called Final Space. If you haven't seen Final Space, Netflix, I imagine that you, Andre, is not gonna like it much because it's like real derp. But I think Jay will appreciate it.
Okay, I watch sometimes at times when I'm into I'm in the mood. I watch some episodes of the Lower Decks, and I like the Lower Decks because sometimes they show the parts of universe they don't tell. They don't tell how the other crew is because we have the main crew and we have the lower decks that nobody knows about it, right?
Yeah.
That's a bit sad, but that's reality. Despite some characters, but it's a very few episodes. Relate to the canon, relate to the different ways of making the show. In my opinion, it's important to have different ways to tell the story. But I like John said, if you play safe, it's going to fail because if you play safe, it's going to be underwhelming. It's going to be like a shitty movie or a shitty TV series, and you don't understand anything. I think the future for Star Trek universe beyond that shows it's going to show a more darker Star Trek universe. It's going to show a more a different timelines, a different story. So the main story, like Star Wars universe, right? Because we have the Mandalorian, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope you said
Mandalorian, yeah.
yeah. And we have animation shows and other stuff. They shows different ways, but I just hope then I just hope that the Star Trek universe can evolve that storyline, the plot line, to achieve more stories the next I don't know 4 5 centuries after the main event. You understand me? Because
Yeah.
if you work the same timeline over and over again, you're going to be hit a roadblock, and you don't know. But why I'm here? Why I'm telling the story? You're going to tell the story with the same cliches,
Yeah.
or not. Um, in my opinion, is important. I like the lower decks a bit because sometimes resemble the Simpsons and
Mm-hmm.
Family Guy. I don't like Family Guy, sorry, but
Sacrilegious.
yeah, but I really like the different ways to tell the story. But what I don't like, for example, is a big difference for me between the Star Trek and Star Wars, is the fact that the technology show on Star Wars is the same over and over again, the same form, the space inside that colors on between black and gray and beige and so on. Star Trek universe, when I see a new show, always a new technology to show, right?
Yeah.
Began with Star Trek Discovery, which called Techno Noble, with amazing sort of text, right? The same thing happens with Star Trek, Picard, and so on. What I want to mention is that the technology we have today on science must be expressed on the show. This is my appealing to keep watching the Star Trek. Another
Mm-hmm.
thing is that the plot line, the storyline itself, because it need to evolve, it need to show other emotions and need to show the different point of view of the other races because we tend to anthropomorphize the other races. Like in Star Wars, it's the same thing, right? We are going to show, imagine the Vulcans to have the same ideas that a human kind has. So it's something I don't like very much. So if you're going to tell a story of a civilization or aliens, you're going to tell that point of view, no matter how insidious or dark or violent or misogynistic or anti-nature as, because it's a different culture, a different civilization, and that's much so. What happened in that kind of discovery, for example, Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard, they began to show this. They don't performize the characters. They show the aliens like, is this okay? I
Mm-hmm.
have that culture, I have that technology, but I'm not going to change to be closer to human. That's
No,
the
I think I have to disagree on two matters that you just stated. One is saying that happens on Star Wars. Um, I disagree on that point because you have the United Federation of Planets, you have the Senate per se on Star Wars, and most of the actions that appear on the movies are related to being there a galactic war. So, what do civilizations do when there's a war? Try to win, try to their side to win. But when you analyze the aspects of each culture, you also have that approach that exists also on Star Trek, which is we have our way of thinking. Okay, but is their way of thinking good? And some cases you have to leave them be. Other cases where you have to fight for yourself. You cannot stay like this. And then you try to basically change the mentality. And this happens in Star Wars and Star Trek. But in many cases, you have an aspect of seeing how this culture works. And
Yes, that's true. That is true.
Many cases, what you change is not the ways they think; it's reminding that their culture also thinks like this. They
Yes,
try to use diplomacy to see your ways are like this, but you have considered this, so this is also in your way. So you should do this in your ways. The other thing, which I forgot, was like I'm trying to think. There were different species. They were trying to approach in different ways. Okay, I lost my train of thought. But basically, I think that they have a lot of, we are like this, we should respect their ways of thinking. And you see, especially on Star Wars, you watch Obi-Wan Kenobi saying this to Anakin. Okay, you see a lot of this way. But then you have the other side, which is, oh, but their way of thinking is not right, is not good for them. So should we help or not? It's like when they have a rebellion. Technically, the Jedi cannot be connected to that rebellion, but they could train the rebellion to just like a little bit of upgrade. Does that is also considered as involvement or not? It's just like that gray area. In terms of Star Trek, you also have like this. They always have the prime directive and the first contact rules, and if they're not evolved enough, do not contact, do not interfere with their natural way of development until they have the capacity to reach the warp velocity. That's how it happened with Earth, because the Vulcans did that way. And so all the others should do like that, but many are reckless and they don't. For a show that is highly related to the natural history of Earth, you have a lot of characters that don't respect that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me argue this way. It's certainly true that in some episode of Star Trek, previous generation, when I speak like previous generation, it's like before the two main Star Trek, the TV shows that ongoing, like the Star Trek Discovery and the Star Trek Picard. And yes, they're almost like they are imposed their ideas. That's true, and I admit. But sometimes when the show began to evolve itself, began another kind of thing. Because if you look to the crew itself, it's like the most diverse crew ever. Because we have black actors, Latin actors, transgender actors. You have many of diversity across the crew and across the ships and across the universe. But sometimes when I look to Star Wars, I don't. I feel that is only two options: the light and the darkness, right? So I feel that I need. I don't know. For example, I'm going to divagate here because I'm going to talk about the two main the main enemies I like very much of the show. One of them is the Borg. The other one is species. It's species 801472 because it's a species from Star Trek Voyage. Which this belong to fluidic space. And
I know.
Okay, and you see the space like is completely racist species. Like she wanted to dominate that part of space to create a fluidic space, just one them, because all of them is impure. Theirs are the purity. Okay, and when I talk about this particular species, I talk about for the main events of the Horde, like the Holocaust, for example, right? The Aryan race, like the pure race of humankind. So that's the similar. And you have the Borg on the other side. But the Borg is the main enemy, but the most diverse enemy. What I'm going to say this like this because the Borg assimilate everyone. When assimilate everyone, everyone is belong to the hive, right? But everyone have their memories and everyone assimilated their knowledge. So, so my proposition to my argument is that the Borg is more diverse than the species itself because they don't impose the ideals on the others. They want to have the world or just one of them. Make sense what I'm saying? No.
Yeah, but I'll have to completely disagree on what you're saying.
Okay.
For example, the species 8000 blah 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 that you're stating, they were invaded. Okay, they were in their pocket dimension of type of space, the fluidic space, and the Borg, who majorly are the jackasses on the show, in my opinion, because they don't consider the other species. They're like, we are perfect, we are one, you fuck you, join us under our rules. So as you stated, like the conversion and the single mentality of superiority, the Borg itself, in my opinion, is the ones that are the fucking jackasses on the show.
Yeah,
the species was angry because they were invaded.
Yeah.
And basically, the Borg in that situation were the Nazis in Poland when it was fucking cold and got fucked up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But don't forget, the Borg itself has only the Borg itself just have one concept inside the hive is to be close to the profession. So the Borg is embodied our our desire as human species to be the most perfect possible, the perfect society, the perfect beautiful, the profession
Basically, the
itself.
Borgs are the version, the character version of the music. All together now, all together now, all together now, all together now.
Yes, but to achieve that in particular, they must assimilate other people because they have stories about the molecule because they are trying to find the protein molecule because the molecule
omega
itself is the most perfect one, right?
Yeah,
so
the omega one.
Yes, that's why I said the Borg itself assimilate everyone and make the hive itself like the most diverse because uh, they have entire species technology inside the hive mind. So, but the board itself, when you see the surface, you see they are one. They function as one,
We are bored. Yeah.
but the base is diverse, right? They began the civilization assimilating others, right? So
They begin their way of thinking and their civilization. You call it assimilating others,
yeah,
but
think
they
about the money.
disregard everything about the story of the planet, the ways of the planet, the art of the planet, the what makes the that's assimilated species as um as unique. They don't give a shit. They just want. They basically say, "As yeah, your body is stronger. It's going to be a great drone. Let's go. I don't want to. Screw you. You must go."
Yeah,
Um,
that's true, but that's the way.
they have
I'm not
the
defending attention. I'm not defending the Borg itself the way the Borg
yeah
or the Friedrich or the species I 2007
seven of nine.
72. So I'm not defending the issue of them. I'm not defending anyone. So sometimes when I look to see this kind of feelings, you you see shades of gray. You can when I look to this kind of characters, I cannot think but is evil, but is evil to whom? To the crew? Is evil to what? The species war against the Borg was the reaction because the Borg invaded their free space, right? The
Yeah,
Borg itself began to assimilate other civilization because the needs of them to survive and they need them to look for the perfection.
but
That
there's cooperation and there's assimilation, and that's the
is the
main
exactly
point of the Borg. The Borg is one of the most or used to be, I'm going to say like this, it used to be one of the most perfect enemies of the Federation
yeah
just because of the following fact. This United Federation of Planets is like
yeah
this, united. So you have, they consider science, arts, and in arts I'm saying music, literature, paintings, what the fuck, um, um, history, uh, sociological advancements, philosophical advancements, their natural advancements. They consider each part as a bonus to the Federation. So, in some way, the Federation and the Borg are the same. Then they are not, because the Borg is like you grab all the colors of the Federation, put them in black and white, add
yeah
all the colors to just have that middle gray, which is we won't want the strongest thing. We don't consider your opinion, your memories, your experience. Well, in terms of memories, experience, they add it if it's to assimilate other species. It's just to upgrade them. But in terms of what makes an individual or individual race an individual race, they don't give a shit.
no, and they don't give a shit. It's a perfect villain, and it's one of my favorites
But
of the show. The show, no, without doubt.
they
But
stop being the perfect villain for me at the end of the Next Generation show. They only come back as being a very good enemy on Voyager in
on
some
Voyager, the
way,
last final, the battle
and
between the Janeway and the Queen, right?
the movie.
The movie you talk about, I
The
don't recall.
movie with the Picard crew, where
Oh, yeah.
they have to fight the big ass hive mind, um, and there's all that confusion of Join us, Data. Join us. Become human. It's your dream.
Yeah.
Pinocchio, you can be a real boy.
Yeah,
Which basically Data was Pinocchio. Okay, Data was Pinocchio. But not trying to diddle daddle. We have to move to other points because this is becoming the second part of the episode. And we still have to. I still have questions for you, both of you.
Okay.
First of all, it's not trying to diddle daddle a lot, just a couple of phrases. First, for you, Andre, what's your favorite captain?
I have two as well. Capitan Cisco and Jean-Luc Picard. And sometimes Jean-Mai, but I think, if I choose one, I choose Jean-Mai, of course.
And for you, JJ?
I would have to say Picard. It's the only one that I personally. I'm
by
not
exclusion of facts.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try and sugarcoat it. It's the only one that I personally.
Yeah, you haven't seen the movies, the new version of the movies, when you'll know the younger Kirk.
I did, but
still Picard. Got it.
Yeah,
thank you.
Obviously, yeah. I don't think that's a no. I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, basically.
On my part, at least.
Okay. Favorite crew member.
Wow, that's complicated.
Exactly. I know.
It's complicated. It's very, very complicated question, and I don't know how to answer because the favorite crew span entire Star Trek universe, which is very irritating for me. But I will try.
I'll state it like this: if you were inside of a shuttlecraft and you're gonna crash on a planet, what were the 3 members of any timeline that you would prefer to have it with you?
Oh, that's the easy answer. Is Keenan.
Who?
Keenan is a character from Star Trek: The Next Generation. There are Immortal Being is the actress is UP. Well, UP.
Yeah, it's the lady from the
nuns.
The nuns, exactly.
UP Goldberg is the name. UP Goldberg. Yeah.
Okay, but what would be the other 2 crewmen?
Beyond that is Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager and Jadia's Dax from Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Okay, so basically you chose a rebel fighter, a logical person that would disagree with the rebel fighter, and the peacemaker.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a trio, a Vulcan, and an immortal being. Basically, yes.
She's not exactly immortal.
I know. It's have some circumstance. I don't recall everything, the detail, but I like very much that kind of dialogues between the conversation between her and the crew of Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah, especially with Picard.
That was amazing for me.
JJ, what's your crew?
Can I say Picard again?
Yes. So in your case would be Picard, Will Wheaton, and
Will Wheaton, basically.
What's the third?
So Jay,
I don't know, man. To be honest, I don't.
We need to watch the Star Trek Picard
Yeah,
with me.
I should actually polish my Star Trek knowledge because now I feel a little ashamed.
But do you want to Will Wheaton young or Will Wheaton currently?
Currently. Both of them. There.
Okay.
Just I think from the previous question, which I didn't answer, I only asked. Um, my favorite captain also would be Picard because it's just that
Yeah, this
swag.
He has a
You know that
charm.
he has that charm, that old charm, that bald guy charm that states, if I were bald, maybe there was still a chance for me. Because
Uh,
it basically is almost the Hugh Hefner of the Star Trek.
Yes.
that's true. That's true. But if you choose a woman, which one?
If I chose, well, in terms of captain, there were only appeared on the show two captain that were women. Um, I
Yeah.
would state that I preferred Janeway because Janeway is it's a funny character. You in Discovery you also have a female captain, but
Yeah, we have two. On Discovery, on Star Trek Discovery, you have two captains female.
yeah, you have the version that wants to kill everything, and
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't recall the name, but I need to.
but I think that in terms of what I've seen and remembered, because I remember some facts of the Discovery, and I still haven't watched the third season. Um, but Discovery is like a mother. Sorry, Janeway is like a mother.
Is she a mother? But sometimes I
She,
think.
she acts many times as that cliche, but it works with her of mother slash friend slash captain. Because in sometimes it's like companionship. Let's all go to the pub and drink and follow our asses off. Then sometimes it's like the nurturing mother, and other times is the mother that would punish you and send you to your room, and then sometimes it's just the goddamn uh, captain. You know, I think in many ways, many of the crew, or at least the main members of the crew, evolved because she acted like a mother.
I think you're right. Definitely, with I agree with your characterization of Janeway as a mother. She has to be right. She has to be a mother. She has to be a father, a friend, sometimes a family member, right? Sometimes the captain. I think Janeway have many social papers, social goals, right?
Mhm.
They represent many social roles that we have. Sometimes women today have many roles. They need to work. They need to take care of the kids. They need to, I don't
She's
know,
basically on power.
yeah, exactly. Um, but I think Janeway was the perfect character for the plot line, the storyline of Star Trek Voyager. Because if was a man, I don't think the seasons. I don't think the season itself is going to be. I think it's going to be different because I think there's the few shows of Star Trek universe that I think the Janeway shows it to the character of Janeway
Mhm.
was there at the right time at the right place.
Yeah.
Understand? It's a perfect fit for me. I think I agree with you. Yes.
In terms of the crew members to have on a shuttle, I think first I would have to choose Data because it's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was an amazing show.
The second member would have to be Neelix. I,
Understand.
I I don't know why, but I love that character, especially the entire development that the character has been suffering now that the event of end of the third season happened, which the blonde girl choose another path.
Exactly. That's true. But I think Nelix is sometimes when I think about Nelix, I think about you, right? Yeah, honestly
thank you.
speaking. Because it's goofy characters, everything is good. We have peace. We're going to be kumbaya and to do something.
Well, are you sure that sounds like me? Because that doesn't sound like me.
You like to make barbecue, right? So it's like to cook as well. So it's almost the same with some differences only, and sometimes, but you know.
I'm a version of Neelix that is less peacemaker.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And the third character would have been what would be the third character? Because I was kind of adding a little bit of each different story. You have Data, you have Neelix. I think if I would add someone from Deep Space Nine, which is not a rule to have different people from different shows, especially because Jay never,
Worf from the Worf. Okay, I didn't hear, so that's why.
No problem. No, I'm saying that there wasn't a rule that the characters that you would have in the shuttle with you should be different. But I think that maybe the third character that would have on the shuttle, if not Spock, would be the shapeshifter.
Well,
because it would be intrigued.
How the fuck did I forget Spock? How the fuck did I forget about it?
I
prosper, bitch.
Holy shit.
But I like the Spock's form, Star Trek Discovery. I don't like the Spock's form, the original series. So
I prefer. No, actually, I prefer the version of Spock that is between the original and the older version of the original.
The older version was the new timeline, so the Kelvin timeline, right? So
no. I'm stating like the episodes where old Nimoy appeared.
Okay. I see. Is it the characters, of course, because they
experience of life and such.
Vulcan and human emotions also. So that's so Vulcans don't have emotion, but they have logic. So it's between logic and emotions. It's like David Hume and Descartes. So
yeah,
sometimes it's like.
But yeah, my team would be Data, Neelix, and the Shapeshifter.
Shapeshifter says okay.
What's his name?
Ondo.
Odo. Yeah,
Odo.
Yeah. That would be my third character, because I think would be a fun. It would be a great team for survival, but also a fun team to watch them conversate. Have a conversation. No, because most of the time, you have Data that is still learning to be funny. You have Odo that is trying to be funny, and you have Neelix that is too much funny.
Too much fun. So the Data is funny, but it's like a nerd funny, and Odo is like a green wood funny. So something like that.
Odo is on a natural way assimilating more easily the ways of how humans are. Data, which not being biological, doesn't have some reactions and chemicals that process during the body, so it's even weirder for him to try to understand. But Odo feels feelings.
Yes, but Odo is very special because of his sense of justice. a sense of justice with, okay, even when you try to solve the murder, even the people, even the what the person is his enemy is so. Hello,
Yeah, it's very just. Yeah.
hello.
Hello.
Yes, we hear you.
We hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello,
Because
darkness, my old
I
friend.
heard some weird noise, so I don't understand what
It was at
happened.
my end. Sorry.
Okay. His sense of justice, because of his speeches as well, they need to they need to have order in their lives, right?
Yeah.
And data is more compelling because he search for to be like a human, right? To feel like a human.
Yeah.
That's the main life goal aspiration that two characters has, I think.
Trying to think if there was a favorite enemy. In case you already talked about the Borg.
I think we covered it with the
Yeah,
Borgs.
with the
I think we
Borgs.
covered it. Yeah.
Just to add a little bit. At my hand.
What?
At my hand, and in my point of view, I don't think that the Borg are necessarily my favorite enemy. I think that in some retrospective, my favorite enemy might be the Klingons.
Why? They are evil.
No, it's not because they're evil. They were at war with the United Federation on the original show. And if you consider that there's still plots of not respecting the United Federation, they might be considered still a good enemy. You know, the plots inside, their ways of thinking, their ways of war. If you have the Borg, which is a copy of the United Federation, but you remove all the colors, and that makes him an interesting enemy. But at the end, when they try to add colors to the Borg, it removes the threatness, removes kind of the threatness of the Borg, in my opinion. In terms of the Klingon, they were like the fucking opposite of the Federation. They just wanted to battle, honor, die, kill, drink. Not necessarily on this order. Sometimes they would drink first and then die, battle, victory, losing. Actually, losing would not be accepted, but whatever. But I think I think that the Klingons are more evolved as a species to be considered, especially with the beginning, as an enemy, and more interesting than just the Borg, because the Borg don't have. The Borg are a threat itself. They are powerful and such, but they don't have palate. Every time they try to add flavor, it's trying to humanize a Borg and remove it from the fucking collective. But that's my opinion.
I can relate, I can understand, but I never thought the Klingons to be a true enemy of the Federation. Even with the latest shows, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Because the Klingons, if my memory is not mistaken, I believe the homeworld of Klingon Empire is Sopis. Sopis, no, sorry, it's not the right word. It's complete desert barren, right? It's not to have fertile lands. So I
But
think
they
the
don't
Klingons
eat
itself
vegetables.
yeah, exactly. The Klingons they battle for resources, right? They have very few resources, so the only way to survive is battling other houses or other species, to acquire new resources, right?
I
I think that is not. That's why I said it's not the very true enemy. It's enemy because they need constantly new resources to support an empire, right? But the environment, the planet when is was created or the life began or something like that, made the Klingons like this. Makes sense what I might say.
yeah.
Okay, I think more the Romulans like the enemy to than the Klingons because the Romulans is this very serious. It's like every action of the Romulan are on the dark side. Okay, so you cannot trust on a Romulan entirely, right? But you can trust a Klingon if you have honor with him, with them. You understand?
But only on later seasons where humans fought to earn. It's the friend enemy. Klingons basically are the friend enemies, which is they started as enemies but then became friends. But it's like, are we trusting completely on this friendship? So they're the friend enemies.
I can agree. Yes. Yes. No.
Yes, no, maybe. I don't know.
Uh, um, no, I cannot because if I'm going to answer, I'm going to speaking about the philosophy of the evil, and you don't want to hear me talk about that. I'm sure about
Save
it.
that. Save those notes for the next episode.
Of course, of course,
I
of
think
course.
I think we have enough to wrap it up. I think.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Just final question,
Yeah.
Jay. What's your favorite enemy on Star Trek?
Friend
Uh,
enemy.
I was actually
No, no.
going, I was actually going to say what you said about the Klingons. To be honest,
Okay,
from what
fantastic.
from the little I know about it, I think it's the one that, in my opinion, it's the most interesting one. Not only because, like you said, they start as definitely as enemies, and then progress to a different
Social status.
social status, exactly. And
They're
I think
friends on
that,
Facebook now.
yeah, then they follow each other on Instagram. But I also, even on a social level, I think that they are the most interesting ones to actually um, follow. I mean, they
Yeah.
have a very interesting take on how their society works, and what a person need, a person, or whatever the fuck you are, needs to actually engage in a civilized conversation with them and establish a basis of interpersonal relationship with a Klingon. So I think it's I know that some people may not call them like a true enemy, but it's actually, in my point of view, I think it's the best Star Trek
It's a
has to
friend
offer.
enemy.
It's a frenemy, basically.
It's a friend enemy.
It's a frenemy, yeah.
To wrap it up, next show we're going to try about sociology, philosophy,
Hopefully.
and have a very interesting point to ask Andre the Giant on next episode concerning the force of Star Wars, but in Star Trek.
I think he should come more often. To be honest,
Yeah.
I think he should come more often.
Me? Why?
Yes, because you actually present a very interesting take on what we discuss here. Because you usually have different opinions on stuff from us too. We
thank you.
usually stay here and chat about stuff which we agree on, and
develop the conversation into shit.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So you actually unclog the toilet that is that is this podcast. You're the plunger.
You're the plumber, but no porno version.
Mario.
Mario. Okay, so next show we're gonna talk about more philosophical shit. To end the episode, our dear friend André, we usually give recommendation to our listeners.
We can give a recommendation on the next chapter. We do like
it's going to be a full week. It's going to be a full week, so we might just like give one game and one show / movie for
usually it's a game and a movie or a show, but if you don't have one of those, you can basically say whatever the fuck.
Yeah. So you might have the honors, Andre. Just give recommendations to the people. One game, one show, what has been interesting to you lately, and so on.
You can even say music if you want to.
Okay. Yeah. So let's pick up one book, one show.
No. Well, usually we don't suggest books because we usually don't have time to read the books. But if you want to propose a book, be my guest.
Okay. So I'm going to recommend a game first. So. So the game I will recommend was Detroit Become Humans. I play with both you, Jay, and you, Bruno, right? So it was for me it was an amazing game.
For us, was it a fucking amazing experience? To be honest.
It's like a big brother.
Both
playing, big brother. Yeah, exactly.
The experience was great, both playing and watching you play.
Yeah.
Because, watching you play, we're like, what the fuck is he doing, man?
But it was really fun.
Let's to the listeners understand that I, André Pedroso, don't play very well video games because he don't have a PlayStation or Xbox like his friends. So that's the main thing. And
I have a console and I also suck at video games. So
that's true, but not often as you, right? So that's why. But go back. I think Detroit Become Humans is a very good game to play. A book, I think I recommend a book, of course. Is a light reading for me, but I am imagining right now. My friends think is not going to say a easy book. I know, I understand. They know me, right? So the book I will recommend is the title is Thinking Fast and Slow, from the winner of a Nobel Prize of Daniel Kahneman. So it's a worth reading. So it's not relate to the main podcast. And the last one is the TV show is Star Trek Picard, of course. So it's my recommendation.
For my recommendations, actually, I'm going to think a little bit, and I'm going to let Jay speak first.
Of course you are. But curiously, this week there's no video game from my part. Curiously, which is weird because it always involves a video game or something. But actually this week I actually bring a book. It's a very interesting recommendation from my part, I guess. So lately I have been finishing up a book called Why Marx Was Right. It's a very humoristic very humoristic study on why Karl Marx's theories still exist to this day, and it has a very typical British dry humor. The author is Terry Eagleton. I think he's a journalist from Britain. And it's a very, very light book for people who enjoy a good laugh, but also enjoy a good political a good
Study.
political discussion and a good political study. It doesn't matter if you lean to the left and you're a socialist or a communist. It doesn't matter if you lean to the right and are a liberal. It still holds up as its own study of one of the great 19th century thinkers, and it's a very interesting way of understanding why Marx is still very relevant almost 2 centuries later. That's it.
On my end, well, you only recommended a book. Don't you want to recommend a movie or show? Or
I was actually thinking about it, and I got nothing.
you have nothing?
Yeah.
Okay. On my end,
I think the book speaks for
Actu-
itself. I think
the book speaks for itself.
The book recommendation was so off topic for me that I think it speaks for itself.
It occupied all the available slots in the
Yes.
inventory.
Definitely.
On my end, I haven't been watching anything besides Star Wars Visions, which I'm going to let the debate of episode to episode on another episode.
Yeah, because I still haven't watched them all. So
Exactly.
give me a little more, some more days.
I'll give you all the time that you need, brother. In terms of games, I'm going to suggest the following. I just finished Paper Mario The Origami King, and that motherfucking shit broke my heart. The story is that damn good. I know it's a Mario game, and it's a Mario RPG game, which doesn't have the same statistics as the original Super Mario RPG, but the story itself for me was touching, was great, and all that, and the puns inside the game were fun. In terms of shows, I'm still watching Voyager, so I haven't been watching anything, especially with work and such. In terms of books, I bought one, but I still haven't read it. I was so curious concerning I wanted to watch The Green Knight. I still haven't watched it, unfortunately. Not enough time to go to the movies to watch the movie.
I'm
But
actually waiting for Venom, to be honest.
yeah, also I'm going to watch Venom practically as soon as it's released. I think it's going to be great. But I bought a book concerning the tales or the tale of the Green Knight, written by Tolkien. So basically, Tolkien, beside the Lord of the Rings, has gathered many British lore and from the poems and write it in a way to present to his children. So he grabbed the poem of the Green Knight and also wrote a longer version, which I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe that might also been an inspiration for the movie. Again, on games, if you're still socially awkward, you have a very small group of friends, and it's not viable for every friend to gather in one place. Sometimes they have an issue that they cannot leave home because cars and shit. Currently on Unbundle, you have a bundle of digital board games which I bought for 20 euros. I paid a little bit more because I gave most of the money to the breast cancer charity that they were funding. And basically, you have Ticket to Ride digital version, Terraforming Mars digital version, Splendor, Small World, Scythe, Pandemic. The app of Pandemic is kind of shitty because you cannot play with other people. This is just going to be solo play. Love Letter, the Lord of the Rings adventure card game, Game of Thrones, the board game, Carcassonne, and the new type of board game from the Cthulhu, which was going to be called Mansions of Madness to relate to the board game Mansions of Madness, but in the later date they changed it to Arkham Horror Mother's Embrace. So basically, to gather all these games and the corresponding DLC, just go for the max price and grab and convince your other friends to do so you won't be the only jackass doing so. Yeah, that's my recommendation. Games, and games.
So you basically compensated for me.
Thank you. Also, I bought, just
See?
a little side note, until today, which is Monday, the 11th of December, until 6 p.m. of today, there was sales of Asmodee, the company that did all these digital versions of the games. And I also bought Mysterium, which is that game that we all know of the spirit communicating with the psychics using cards. I bought the digital version of that game and the DLCs also to play with friends that are in the UK. So yeah, games, and games.
Noise.
Cheers.
If any of you, my friends, or any of you listeners want to grab at least the games on the bundle, I think it's still available for at least another week. And you help.
Thank you for
Someone.
having me.
So
No problem. It was a pleasure.
I know that we usually say "May the force be with you" in the end, but I think today we
Yeah,
could open
Live
up an
long and
exception.
prosper.
Yeah,
Live
that
long-
you yourself can actually end this with a "live long and prosper."
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna just add a little bit of remark before the ending. Shut up, Wesley.
Oh boy.
So, yeah.
Here we go. Okay.
Thank you guys
Thank
for
you,
listening.
Paul.
Thank you for listening, and thank you, Andre, for coming here.
Okay, thank you.
Next week or something, we will all three be back for the second part with a
we
more
apologize for the delay, but
with
adult reasons.
with a deeper conversation about Star Trek. I promise I will do my homework and come a little better prepared. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to do some homework. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening.
Okay.
Please, if you have any questions for us, please do reach out to us. And Andre, I don't know if you have anything to say, anything to add.
I would like to add to keep listening to the podcast of Jay and Bruno because I think it's a very funny thing to do, listening about Star Wars stories, because this is all the podcast is about. Sometimes someone foreign alien like me going to say Star Wars not good, but it's not itself is not good. It's also a good story to people unwinding this times. Those times is very anxious because of pandemic and so on. So I think Jay and Bruno made a terrific job doing this podcast. You should clap to them, and I think you should listen every episode of the podcast.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Welcome.
Thank you for the flowers, the coronation. Accept this award in name of all my friends. Well,
Bye.
you have the last word, my friend.
Okay.
So Andre, you want to end it with a live long and prosper, please?
No, no. Anything I added, I think.
Okay.
No, the final phrase.
Yeah,
Just say the final phrase.
say goodbye
The
with
final
six.
phrase.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you.